Well, good evening, everybody. As always, thank you very much for joining on the live stream. I'm going to do the usual thing, which is just to ask you if you can see and you can hear and everything looks and sounds okay. That would be absolutely phenomenal. So just let me know in the chat section if everything is looking and sounding okay. And then we're going to start with a live stream with my very special guest tonight, which I'm pretty sure you're probably going to know who he is anyway. We're going to go through the welcomes and things like that, and then we'll go through the introduction. So if you could just let me know if everything sounds okay and everything looks okay, that would be absolutely phenomenal. So hopefully everybody's doing really, really well tonight. You are, well, what can I say? I'm glad that you could join me tonight on the last minute live stream, which is always good to just kind of chuck one together for a bit of fun. I was a bit of a loose end, and I thought, let's get online and have a chat. Awesome. So everything is looking and sounding okay. That's fantastic. And it's good to see a few names here that I was interacting with on my guests' chat earlier on his live stream. So I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about, because let's be honest about it, I put it in the Facebook post and also in the Twitter post. So I'm pretty sure you know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, if you don't, I'm just going to welcome Imran into the live stream. So Imran, if you'd like to introduce yourself and just let anybody that may not know who you are, and just go for it.
Hey, I'm Imran. I work on Web Squadron, web agency. We're based in the UK. We spent a lot of time the last year with our YouTube channel helping people out with Elementor and WordPress, and we have a daily live chat as well. And a bit like Paul, really, we just genuinely love to help people out, not just with WordPress, but business, marketing, branding as well. And it is an absolute pleasure to be here on Paul's channel. I've basically hijacked it. I mean, he invited me, but I've made sure I said, yes, I'd love to come along. And I can't wait to interact with you all with your questions and the journey that Paul's going to take us on in today's live chat.
Well, thank you very much for joining. Like I say, I'm pretty sure that everybody knows exactly who you are, especially if they've been in the WordPress world and, well, undoubtedly if they've been doing anything to do with Elementor, because you are prevalent, should we say, on the Elementor Facebook group. You've been incredibly helpful with a lot of people on there, and I know there's a lot of respect and love for what you're doing there, so that's always good. Like you say, it's about the community side of things. So tonight, I mean, basically, this is just an Ask Us Anything. We're going to talk about a few topics that have kind of happened this week. We're going to get some feedback from you guys in the chat section, answer some of your questions, and just basically have an evening of talking and just having a laugh. So, first of all, I'm going to ask Imran a quick question. How do you fancy telling us about how you ended up getting involved with Elementor, how you decided to start a YouTube channel, and a little bit about your journey to coming to where you are right now? So I'm going to hand the floor over to you. I'm sorry to put pressure on, but we'll start off by just
dumping
all the pressure
totally
on you.
Okay. No, totally okay. So I've actually spent the last 20 years working in analytics in the NHS in the UK. And I was head of analytics just before I left the NHS in January. So my background is very much analytical analysis. And about 17 years ago, I started getting interested in websites, as you do, and playing around with a bit of HTML. And eventually I came across WordPress in its early days, and I kind of loved and hated it, because I spent a lot of time spending money on themes and templates and stuff. And everyone remembers those days. You bought a brand new template every 2 weeks. But I kind of did it on and off. And I started working on websites here and there for friends or family or just associates. And slowly over time, I started to get more and more passionate about it, especially because I'm quite creative in just the way I am. I like to do things with my hands and my brain and just the way I am. And I came across Elementor about 3 years ago. And this is at a point where I was starting to think about, well, if I want to start a business in a web agency, I'm going to have to find a tool that I want to use on and off all the time. And I was experimenting with Divi and a bit of Elementor, Beaver Builder, Visual Composer, dare I say it, even WP Bakery. And I then made my mind to use Elementor, mainly because I found it really intuitive. I just found I could go in, get dirty with the data and the websites and all of that, and just build amazing things. And the other thing that swayed it for me was, even then, 2 years ago, the community that Elementor had, the Facebook group, back then it must have been about 85,000 people in a group. This is amazing, 24/7 help from people that use Elementor all the time. And I just got involved in the Elementor Facebook group. I started building more websites with Elementor. Last year, we built just over 82 websites. Our reputation was growing. I wanted to start helping people out more. So I've digressed a bit. So on the Facebook group, I wanted to help. It's always been in my nature to make a difference, to help people out. I know what it's like when you're sat in a meeting. You know the feeling when you're in a meeting and someone says something and everyone just nods their head and you're sat there going, what the hell are they talking about? I do not understand the acronym. What does this mean? Do I need to know this? And you kind of panic and you're afraid to put your hand up to say, I don't know what you mean, because you don't want to appear to be a fool or anything like that. And even though the Elementor Facebook group had a community, even though there were loads of videos out there, influencers, people creating tutorials, I wanted to give something back to the community. So I started contributing to the Facebook group a lot. I'm kind of on there nearly every day. And I started our YouTube channel on June the 2nd last year. We've just gone past our 1-year anniversary. And I just started creating videos. And for those of you that watch the videos, you know that I can be quite eccentric on the way I explain things. I like to bring a bit of personality and life to things, and I can be crazy. But I just love giving something back. And I can honestly say, with everything in my life, in whatever I'm doing, if I know I've made a difference to you and anyone else that helps you, your clients or your business, I feel kind of good with that. And I learned a lot from Paul's channel. I probably don't admit this to him too much, but I learned a lot from his channel, especially with custom fields. So in a nutshell, in a very big summary that I've just given there, I felt comfortable with Elementor. I love the fact that with WordPress, you have hundreds of thousands of developers and users out there, plugins galore. There's a whole industry out there. And that's why I chose to stick with Elementor, use Elementor and WordPress, rather than be stuck in an infrastructure like Wix or Squarespace or something like that. So a very long answer there, but business is doing well with our agency. And I just love how our channel's growing, and our community, and all the people, and Star Wars. But we're not here to talk about Star Wars.
No, we're not here to talk. Well, we can talk about Star Wars later. I really don't mind.
Yeah.
Look, it's one of those things I kind of think, in a lot of ways, your journey definitely mirrors my journey. Didn't so much have an agency, but I was involved with my own business for 11 years, and through various different reasons decided to move away from that, become a freelancer. I was doing the YouTube side of things alongside it, and I think I said in your stream, or when we talked, I was kind of doing at least 40 hours a week in my business, and then doing at least 40 hours a week on top of that, doing the YouTube side of things, and literally making, I think I was excited when I made my first £12, which is probably about $15, and that was on 3 channels. That's a combination of 3 channels. So you kind of get an indication of where that was going. But I think in much the same way as business and everything else, it's a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. You have to build your reputation. You have to do something that's a little different. And like you say, with the advanced custom fields dynamic side of things, that was definitely the thing that kind of, I can't say propelled. I mean, at the end of the day, subscriber numbers are just vanity figures. It is, though. It's one of those things that the thing that matters the most is when people send you messages, emails, comments, whatever, and they say, I wouldn't have a business now if it wasn't for what I learned from your channel. That's what makes the difference. That's what means you want to keep on creating. And I'm sure you've got your own stories with the same kind of vein where people say those things to you, and it's heartwarming, it's humbling. And the only thing I can kind of say is that I can remember a long time ago watching a video by Video Creators, I think it was, or something like that. And one of the comments on it was like, their sort of tagline is, create videos to change people's lives. And I always thought, oh God, what a really grand thing to say, a very sort of non-British way of looking at things. And I was kind of like, how the hell can you change someone's life by showing them how to use advanced custom fields or work out, shipping on WooCommerce or something? But the reality is, when you give people the confidence and the skills to be able to excel, that happens. You do help people change their lives. You might not change their life for them, but you give them the tools to help them change their lives. And that is so amazingly heartwarming to get those kind of emails and messages. And like I say, I'm sure you've had the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a really rubbish analogy, but if you're from Britain, you'll know what I'm talking about. But during the 90s, there were tons of gardening programs and, like DIY programs on TV. And just by them showing a skill of how to paint or decorate differently or how to improve your garden, something like that, someone learns something new and they take that skill and they're able to apply that to their own garden, their own house, and the satisfaction you get out of that. And in a way, they were almost like the precursors to YouTube in a way, because that's kind of what we're doing. We're kind of taking something that you already have access to. You've got Elementor, you've got WordPress, you can go and get these plugins, but we're just showing you another way of applying it or clarifying the pros and cons to using it. If you come away from it more educated and a little bit more understanding of what you can achieve with it, away you go. And, I totally agree with you that whenever I get a comment or an email or something where someone goes, this just made my day, this helped me out, it's an amazing feeling. It's something that you cannot properly describe. It's just it's worth more than just a pat on the back. You feel like you've made a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably said this one before on different live streams and things. I got one email, this was probably about 2 years ago, and I sort of sat in bed like on a Saturday morning, and my partner sort of sat next to me. She's on her phone, I'm scrolling through on the iPad, having a little look. And there's an email, and I'll just paraphrase it. And it was literally a case of, I wanted to send you this email just to let you know that after watching your videos and things, it helped me, create a business from nothing. He said, and through doing that, it's meant that I've been able to take my family, my children, and move out of what was a rough area into somewhere that we feel safe and secure. And I've got a business that's making me money that I don't need to go and work for someone else. And my life is, much better because of it. That's paraphrasing. It was worded, relatively differently. But it's one of those things. I was sort of sat, it was like a Saturday morning, and I got to be honest, I was reading this, there was tears coming down my cheek and things, thinking, how could just creating videos in a room, which we're just talking about offline, you're literally in a box creating videos, but it is one of those things that you don't realize the impact that it can have on people and how much it can help, give people more confidence and skills and ability to do whatever they bloody well want to. And I think that's an amazing thing about YouTube and this platform and what we can do. I absolutely love that, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had that kind of email yet, and I'm sure hopefully I do, and I can imagine the impact that would have had on you. The only thing I can say to that is the way I am on the videos, the way I like to help people out on the Facebook group, I apply that to my clients as well. And the relationships I've made with some of my long-standing clients, where we're almost friends now, where they will say to me that their business is growing at an accelerated rate because of the advice and tips that I can give them. So I always say to my clients, I want me and them to still be talking in 10 years' time. They don't have to pay me for upsells or anything. I want us to form a fantastic working relationship where they can talk to me about anything I want, and maybe me to them. And, there's just something about the persona that you can bring out when you're doing videos or things like this, where this is like the real you. So I am not pretending to be someone else, and I know you're not either, Paul. But when you're live, when you're doing these videos, this is you. This is the real us coming out here, and the fact that people connect to us or they're attracted to us and they want to watch our videos and talk to us and all of that, I don't think I've experienced that in real life. No, right? There's something about the warmth you get just with virtual people that you're never probably ever going to meet is just mind-blowing.
It is you're kind of creating in a strange kind of vacuum. And like I say, I don't think people that have never done this kind of thing can kind of appreciate how weird it is. I mean, my background, I spent 10 years prior to setting up my own business teaching adult education, teaching Photoshop, digital imaging, animation, Flash, Dreamweaver, those kinds of things. So my background has been in teaching, and I always loved the teaching aspect. I didn't like the paperwork crap that went with it, but I loved the teaching. And because it was adults, they wanted to be there, and I think that's the difference. And I think
Yeah.
that's part of what I love about coming back to doing this on YouTube, and also, you know, meeting people like yourself, getting involved in not just the community, but also the creators. And I think that's the nice thing, is I made some really, really good friends of people that I would really sit down and have a beer with, have a night out, and just probably talk to the wee hours of the morning kind of thing. And that is a massive thing that you wouldn't take away from other aspects of being able to interact with people. It's a kind of strange thing, but the community, going back to what we talked about right back at the beginning, the community is such a massive part of this whole journey on a platform like YouTube. And I absolutely love the community aspect of it. I think it's brilliant. I kind of find it weird where people, it's like the last 2 weeks, I've kind of been popping in most days to your live stream. So I'm kind of working on my tutorial kind of thing, and I've got your live stream going on, and every now and again I'm back and forth commenting on it, and people go like, oh, I can't believe, Paul's here kind of thing, or WP Tuss I'm kind of tagged in there. But I don't see anything like that. I like I said at the beginning, I think subscriber counts are just vanity figures.
No, I do want to say though that the very first time you joined, Paul, and I think it was 2 weeks ago, I thought you did it by mistake, and then I thought you just stuck around, and then you just kept coming, and I thought, do you know what? And I know that the community I have on the live chat love it when you're on as well. It's and I can say this, okay, is that I feel like it's a huge sign of approval that you join on the live chats. Because to have someone like you, who I've looked up to, who you've been a role model as well in the way you do your videos and you present and the way you come across as well, to have you join in was just amazing for me. So we love having you there. You never outstay your welcome. And we always love to hear your views, even if we don't agree with 99% of them. That's not true. We do agree with them. We do agree with them.
You and 99% of people, it's fine. Hey, look, I really appreciate that, and not to sort of like have a pat each other on the back kind of fest. But yeah, I don't look at myself as being any different whatsoever to anybody else, wherever they are in their journey. That's why I kind of say like the subscriber count when it comes to YouTube are just vanity numbers. Do they make you better than any other creator on there, whether you've got 20 million subscribers or 20 subscribers? Absolutely not. The value you can bring to your community and the people that actually watch it, that's the only indicating factor of whether your journey on YouTube is doing anything positive, whether that's making someone laugh on a channel that's just about, sort of skits and things, or an education channel. I think it shouldn't matter. And me coming onto your live streams is nothing other than the fact that I like to be involved in the community regardless of anything else. And that means I like to get involved in your community. I want to get involved, like I say, with the admin bar and stuff like that. That's where all the fun is. Solid bromance. Darren.
I know, I just read that as well.
I'm going to pop you on screen to say, just so you say that. Oh, you're making us blush.
I know.
But yeah, like I say, I think it's one of those things. Anyway, let's move on from all this gushingness. Let's talk about something different. Let's go back to something that you and I both created videos on this week, because I'd love to get a bit of a conversation going. We talked about this in my live stream on Wednesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
But we kind of talked about, let me just pop this up on screen a second. We kind of talked about the whole Strattic thing and what we kind of think about that. So let's kind of go back to that. So anybody that didn't kind of join into my live stream earlier on, or didn't see the video this week, or didn't see Imran's video, Elementor basically bought Strattic out, which is a hosting company that kind of specialize in headless WordPress. Now looking at the pricing structure, I know that, Imran, you had a few concerns about the pricing side of things, and I've got to be honest, I think they kind of mirrored my concerns when I kind of looked at it, but I think we approached the videos in very different ways.
Yeah, and I'll quickly just jump in and say that. So I tend to use SiteGround quite a lot for myself or my clients. We have used Elementor Cloud, but SiteGround does have its strengths. I know there's weaknesses, but it's pretty good. And when I look at what you're paying $45 a month for, and you don't get a staging site, there is no email provision either, I start to go, well, even if you were on the Grow Big platform where you could have about 25 websites with SiteGround, that's only about $20 a month. And here you're going, well, for one site, $45. And I'm still really confused as to how is this going to work with Elementor Cloud? Is this going to be a given? which I don't think it is, because Elementor Cloud is $99 a year. So how can they justify $45 a month? It just doesn't work. I look at it and I go, I want to like it. I really want to like this because of the added security, because it's headless in a way. You know, you're hitting the HTML and it's faster. But I feel like, how can I justify to a client or a customer, yay, pull in $600 whatever dollars a year or whatever to get this for one site? I'm really struggling with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, going back to the comment about the speed, I don't know if you saw my video, but when I tested it out, I was actually quite surprised at how the speed wasn't any better than if you were using something like, you know, like you say, SiteGround or Cloudways, and you had like perf matters on there. If you'd optimized your site, even just sort of standard optimization, it was, don't be wrong, I don't know how far you took it when you were testing out. It did feel snappy, regardless of what they kind of said in the sort of like the numeric statistics that the, you know, like Google PageSpeed Insights comes back with and so on. It did feel very snappy. But then again, I've also used sites on something like SiteGround or Cloudways, which have been optimized with something like Auto Optimize or WP Rocket or something like that. And they felt just as snappy. And combining all those things together didn't cost £45 or $45 a month, because it's going to be 45 quid. You know, with the exchange rate at the moment, we're going to be paying basically the same conversion rate.
And I think that's the problem I have with it, you see, because it's a bit like with SiteGround, okay, and by the way, we're not here to promote SiteGround, but with loads of hosting providers, there might be a split second or whatever before it loads up, but it's never more than a second, if anything close to that. So this website here, even though it's snappy, I'm like, well, I could blink and that's my second gone. So what's the major improvement you're getting here? And we know that on Tuesday, is it Tuesday? No, Thursday, sorry. On Thursday, there is a live chat with Elementor and Miriam Schwab from Strattic. And I hope we get loads more answers in there. She has acknowledged, though, the fact that I said the documentation about how you migrate your website was poor, and they are now going to review that because they have realized that was a fair point. But it's very, I think we can all speculate at the moment, and I'm waiting for Elementor to pull the rabbit out the hat and go, da-da, here's what we did not tell you, and we all kind of fall in love with it. Yeah, something amazing. But at the moment, I think there's a lot of skepticism about it.
Yeah, I think cloud is a decent proposition financially. When you're talking about like $99 and you're getting a $49 license included in that, your hosting is not a lot of money. You're talking a couple of pounds, a couple of dollars per month. However, I don't know how much you've used it, but in my experience, it's not that fast. And I still think you need to put some optimization tools on top of that. And then you kind of think, well, are you really getting that much more than... I mean, what does SiteGround, again, not like promote SiteGround, but what does SiteGround on a typical offer plan cost you a year? £30?
Yeah, exactly. And I have done lots of comparisons, and even though I do speak highly of Elementor Cloud, I do still say that if I had the option, I get a lot more with the SiteGround, and the speed is practically the same. Like you said, when you do auto-optimize and all of the good right things, don't have inner sections, don't overload your website with too many videos and all of that. What you get with the SiteGround, because like at the moment with Elementor Cloud, you don't get a staging site, you don't get email provision. And I know a lot of people that signed up to Cloud, moved over their domain, and then they were like, oh, I haven't got email. And they had to go to Zoho or somewhere else and then add the email in. And for people that are not very technical, that's a huge headache for them to worry about. And, you could pay $20 a month, get the Grow Big package with SiteGround, which has got enough space on there to handle about 20 websites. So you could put your clients on there if you want, if as a maintenance program, whatever, and it's only going to cost you $240 a year, which is very affordable.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the Elementor Cloud support has been really good with the live chat they've got there. That has been really, really good. But the major benefits you get, I just don't know. I'm not buying into it at the moment.
No, I think if you're using SiteGround as an example, and like you say, this isn't specifically about SiteGround. I mean, you've got HostGator and lots of other ones out there. I won't include things like Cloudways because at the end of the day, Cloudways doesn't have email hosting and things like that in there. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. But when you kind of consider something like SiteGround, that's now got security software included in it, integrated into WordPress. You've got your optimization tool, so you could effectively get away without the need for something like WP Rocket or Perf Matters or something. And the results are generally pretty good, unless, like you say, you fall outside the sensible habits of optimizing your images and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of do have to consider the fact that, is it really that good a deal when you could get something comparative for less money? And once you kind of think, like you say, if you talk 5 clients on there, there's £250. Hang on, am I right on that one? No, that's £500. Maths is terrible.
Yeah.
That's £500 a year. So you could say 2.5 clients then, basically, and you've got SiteGround, which you could probably run 10 clients on and then make a profit. So you kind of do have to consider how realistic is it. But to answer one quick question that's up on screen at the moment, which I popped out because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this one.
I saw that, yeah.
Why not use GoDaddy managed hosting?
Okay.
Because it's GoDaddy.
And someone else also has just mentioned Bluehost. So I'm going to say to you from experience, whenever I've worked with clients who have got either the basic GoDaddy or the GoDaddy managed WordPress solution, and I did have 2 who had literally that a month ago, and I've had a few with Bluehost, I do everything I can to get them away from that, because what we find is the Bluehost server is like that, up and down. They time out. They sometimes do maintenance without telling you. It is up and down, and it's very glitchy. The GoDaddy, even when you're on the managed WordPress, if you ever have a staging site, be prepared for the fact that it will fall down and collapse on you now and again, and it doesn't, you're working on it, it just goes boop. And the managed WordPress, they don't do anything more than updating your plugins. So they'll update WordPress without doing any testing. So when WordPress 6 came out, they updated 2 of my clients' websites without any warning. They update plugins without testing. So imagine right now, you've got Elementor Pro, and maybe you've got Jetpack and CrocoBlock or whatever, and then there's an update. They just update. There's no testing. There's no failsafe. There's no backup. Well, there is a backup. There's no staging site. Has everything worked? They don't really look into that. They just update it. And then when your website goes down, well, it's not until you report it's gone down will they sort it out for you. And I have found 2 of my clients, they had directory websites. Their websites were not heavy. They were not bloated. The page speed scores were 90 plus for the mobile. Everything was good. But their GoDaddy speed, it was horrendous. And I said to them, go and use SiteGround. Don't buy it from me. No affiliate link. I make nothing off this. Just go and set up your own SiteGround account and switch over. And they both did that. And their websites are ultra fast. Sorry, ultra fast is probably a lie. Ultra fast compared to what they were getting with GoDaddy. And the same with someone using Bluehost. So I am not here to promote SiteGround, but I'm telling you now, please don't fall into that trap where you see the GoDaddy, the Bluehost, and other solutions that are really low priced, because you get what you paid for. And these managed WordPress solutions, they just update. They don't test. And anyone here who knows, right, when Elementor do an update, I always say wait a week and test on the staging site. And when we had WordPress 6, I know it was fine, but again, wait a week, because when the gremlins come out, they bite you on your arse and they take a chunk of skin out of you, and they don't give it back either. So you're walking around with a sore arse, okay? So managed WordPress solutions, I don't think you need to do it. So if you are using GoDaddy and you're Bluehost and you're happy, good, carry on. If you're happy with it, carry on. But if you have a chance to make a switch, or you've got a client who's using it and they're open to using something better, I strongly recommend you look at other solutions. I like SiteGround, but there's loads of other good solutions out there. But and I am seeing some of the comments that are coming through here, but the managed WordPress, believe me, they're not managing anything. In fact, the only thing they're managing is their finances as your money goes in to pay for them. That's all they're managing.
Yeah, I mean, You do have to be careful when it comes to hosting recommendations online, as in with lots of different recommendations online. If someone's telling you this is the best thing since sliced bread, and you look at their affiliate, so you look at their links and it's an affiliate link, you do have to kind of take that with a pinch of salt. I mean, I know Imran is very much like me on this regards. It's like we use various different things. Like, for example, SiteGround and Cloudways both contacted me to create two sponsored videos and things for them. And before I even did anything, before I even replied to them, I literally went and bought my own hosting, of which I still pay for both of them, because I use them for testing sites. Like pretty much all the sites you'll see in the tutorials are all on SiteGround. You'll always find that I'll be using SiteGround. Do I tell you to go and use SiteGround? No, it's entirely up to you. You find the hosting company that works for you. If you want to use SiteGround or Cloudways, then by all means do. If you want to use the links that we put in our descriptions, by all means do. But don't listen to what some YouTube influencer tells you to go and buy, saying that's the best thing, because the reality is that's probably the best thing this week, and then next week another thing will be the best thing. The nice thing with things like SiteGround, for example, is that they are cheap to test. So you could literally go on there and you could buy it in, it's like 75% off sale, and you could try it for 12 months and you spent, say, 30 quid. That's all you spent on it. And if you find it absolutely sucks, that's 30 quid that you've wasted, but it's 30 quid that's opened your eyes up to what works and what
That's a good point. That is a good point. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
The other thing to consider as well is there's a lot of companies out there, yes, you're absolutely right. You've got ones with managed WordPress hosting. If they are updating your plugins and your WordPress and things without your interaction, especially if you've got client sites on there, you're using a reseller account or something, that is just so asking for trouble for you, because the only thing that they will probably do is run a backup to put the site back to where it was prior to the update, which then their systems are probably automated and they're going to go back and re-update it automatically, whether that's a 24-hour window or something. And that's not fun when you're doing that for a client and you've got, like you said, Imran, you said, was it 90 odd clients you did last year?
Yeah.
You think if you were doing a reseller account and you've got 90 clients on there, and there's an update that rolls out for something like Elementor or a theme or WooCommerce or something that has an incompatibility with something else you're using across all those sites, like a security plugin or something, that's a shit ton of stress that you've got to deal with to get that back up and running. And that ain't no fun at all.
No, and it's really frustrating when you're working with like a really serious client and you're forming a relationship with them, and you're doing everything you can, and then they go into their website and the website's down or it's really slow, and you're trying to explain to them it's not Elementor, because too many people do blame Elementor sometimes for the bloat and whatever. And I keep saying, no, if you use it properly and you build it methodically and you think about your optimization, your WebP images, your custom fonts, all of these things, you do all of it properly, it's not that bloated in terms of how you build it. It's actually your host. And often they don't want to believe that. So I think it's a very good point that Paul's made there is go with what you're happy with. And if you can get a low costing solution, great. And then if it's not working out for you or you're not tied into the year or whatever, you can start to upgrade and go for something else. But I did notice a comment on here where someone said, what about, and we are deviating here, but what about Elementor Pro licenses? How do you pass that on? Well, if I've got a client and they're paying me a maintenance package, I have lots of Elementor Pro licenses, so I can give them one as part of the maintenance package. Or I just advise them, like with any other premium plugin they have to use, they have to go and buy it. What you don't do is build a website for someone and then you go, right, we're going to use all of these extra plugins, there's a cost to it, but you absorb the cost. No, if the client wants it, they pay for it. Just like if someone wants to buy a car. You have your car, but they want the special alloys and the sports rim and the aircon, right, you have to pay for it. And once you get them to understand that they've got to pay for that, they kind of fall in line. Don't you pay for it, okay? Because that's not a good business model to go for.
Yeah, this is one of those kind of questions that pops up an awful lot with regards to license and things. Now, before I do go any further with the licensing, I can see there's a couple of questions that have kind of popped up in the chat. If you've got questions for either myself or Imran or both of us, if you could put hashtag Q, so then I can quickly go back afterwards when we open the questions and answers section, and then I can see exactly what questions have been asked. So hashtag Q, just so I know what questions you want to ask, and then we can go back to those in a moment. But to kind of go back to the licensing thing we're talking about, I think if you were offering some kind of maintenance kind of plan, or there's a yearly plan of some variety that you have with your clients, I think most clients don't want to have to deal with half a dozen licenses for Elementor and a theme and some plugins and bits and pieces. They just literally want one point of contact. And for me in the past, there's always been a selling point is that you can have your hosting with a company and you will deal with it. You can have your domain registered with another company, you can deal with it. You can have the licenses for these different things and you can deal with it. And you can have me for building the website and you can deal with me. And most people just look at you with this sort of blank stare and go, can I just deal with you? And
yeah.
But that's what you want as someone that's selling websites, and this is just my opinion. You might have a completely different opinion. You kind of, the aim or the job that you kind of have is to make their life easy. It's like you don't want them to think, because one of the things that'll put people off the quickest is where they feel like they've got a lot of things they've got to deal with that's totally outside their comfort zone, and then they're like, I just don't know how to deal with this. And then they'll put off having a website, or they'll put off having it updated, or moving over to you, or whatever it kind of is. And I think this is something that, as long as you're sensible in how you do it, and most people would be more than happy having some form of maintenance plan, or, however you brand that and market it. And this is where like the admin bar and Kyle have done great work with sort of helping people actually set these kinds of things up, is as long as you've got that set up correctly and you're open, clear and upfront, and you make sure that you are never out of pocket with it, then people want simplicity. They want a solution that they can come to one company, one person, and just have all that done. And to kind of jump back a little bit to what Imran said earlier on about the relationships that you set up with your clients, I think that's one of the most important things to consider, is that what my philosophy has always been, when I have a client come on board and I work with them, which I don't really do much these days, I'll be brutally honest, but I've done it for like 15, 16 years. My way of thinking has always been, my job is to help them succeed online. And if they succeed and grow, I succeed and grow, because they will be open to tell everybody they know, this is the person that I had to do the website. They'll come back to me for the next version of the website, the next version, the next version. And I've got clients I've been working with for 17, 18 years, and they come to me for help, advice, questions, updates, and I can go to them and I can say, look, I've come across this thing that I think would be perfect for you, and they don't look at me and go, you're just trying to sell me something. They just know that I understand their business well enough, not the intricacies, but their business well enough to think, he's doing that because he wants my business to grow in this direction or to improve in this way. And they take that on board. And sometimes they roll with it, sometimes they don't. But when you've got that level of confidence from your client in you, because you built that relationship and their business is growing because of your help and support, they won't go anywhere else. So all those kind of things tie into each other, and I think that's one of the things that when you're kind of new to the business of being an agency or a freelancer or whatever, it's very easy to not realize that is way more important than getting 10 clients every single week, or 10, prospective clients. It's much bigger than that.
And I will say though also that I'm just jumping onto something Paul's just said there right at the end about it's not always about getting like 10 clients or whatever, it's about relationships. In that if I ever start to feel like the client doesn't appreciate the advice we're giving, or they don't take it seriously, I am very quick to pull out of the deal. I'm one of those people that is not afraid to go 2 weeks without having any web work, because I always think about the long-lasting relationship. I want that client to feel like they can trust us and talk to us, because it does create feedback, not just reviews, but they will refer you, they will speak highly of you, they will be open to new ideas. And what Paul said there, when you find something different, like with how can they help their social media marketing campaign, how can they do something to upgrade their website, make it more current? Maybe it's a better security feature. They trust you because they know that you're not just giving them rubbish. You're not just there to make money out of them. And the way I always say to them, look, it's up to you. If you want to do this, let me know whether you do it now or in the future or whatever. But they take on board, and it's because they start to respect you as an expert. Doesn't matter if you've been building websites for 10 years, 1 year, or 1 day. You are probably more of an expert in WordPress and Elementor than someone who's never touched it. So never doubt yourself, okay? Believe in what you can do. And if you can get that across to your client when you're doing a web proposal or you want to offer some advice, they will listen to you on that. And remember, always get across the strengths. Don't just say, hey, look, here's a feature that you might like. Tell them the positives and the advantages to them having that. How's that going to help their business? What's the return of investment for them? And if you can start to do that, they really do value you for it. And if their business does well out of it, hey, it's another tick, right? And by the way,
Absolutely.
I just noticed Reno's on here. Nice to see you,
Yes,
Reno.
indeed. Good evening. Afternoon. Netherlands area, it would be evening. I totally agree. It's one of those things that I think never underestimate the relationship that you build with your clients and how you help them grow in whatever direction. You know, I'm pretty sure that, Imran, you've had exactly the same thing, and anybody else that's kind of been doing this for anything more than a couple of years. There are fads of what should be included in a website. So, for example, you go back, say, 10 years ago, it's like every website needed a blog. And then 5 years ago, every website needs to have a Facebook page. And the only thing that's ever on them is, hi and welcome to my blog, and hi, thank you for joining my Facebook page. What benefit does it actually bring to anybody? If you don't have the time to spend to develop and interact and make those something that's useful, but clients don't necessarily, or potential clients don't necessarily know that. They've been told by someone with all good intentions, or they've gone to a course or something that's part of their business network.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, oh, this is what I've been told I've got to have. And they'll contact you, can you put a blog on my website? And it's like, why do you want one? Because I went to a course and they said I need one.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm very passionate about, and I say this a lot on live chats and when I'm mentoring people, I say, right, if you get approached by a business or a client who wants a website, or you're approaching someone, one of the key questions you ask them is, what is your business? What are you achieving? What are you trying to do? And if they say they want a website, I go, why do you need a website? And it sounds counterproductive. They want a website, and I'm challenging them. Why do you need the website? What are you going to do on there? What are you selling? What is the service? Why is anyone even going to go to your website? You know, yes, we know internet exists, but why would they go there? What are they going to get out of you? And when they start to tell you what they're trying to achieve or what their business model is, and they always say what you've just said, oh yeah, we need to have a blog, we need to have a Facebook feed, an Instagram feed. And I kind of go, well, how many posts have you got? What are you posting? How does that correlate with your website? What is the journey you're trying to give here? And I have to rein them in a little bit. And I kind of say, look, it's okay to separate things out, sometimes, or maybe it is good to combine it, or come on, let's be honest, your blog. Look, we're building a website for someone who pours concrete in Lincolnshire in the UK, right? They want a Facebook post page. Their posts, they're like one-liners. Hi, we just poured concrete. And I'm like, this is baloney. Right? Yep. Leave that for your Facebook. Leave that for whatever like that. But I feel like you've got to pad it out. You've got to have meaningful blog posts, So I'm with you on that. I don't like it when people think, yeah, I want to have this, I want to have that. And I go, yeah, okay, fine, if you want to pay for it, but I don't see the benefit of it.
Yeah, and I think, I've said this plenty of times before, I think a big part of being... the web design professional, shall we say, whatever you kind of want to brand yourself as, is a big part of that is educating potential clients or educating existing clients. Because if they've got, don't get me wrong, I mean, if people have never-ending budgets and bottomless pockets and they want you to kind of do it, you kind of think, well, I can give you all the advice in the world, but if that's what you want, and that's always been my line, it's like, if that's what you want, that's what you truly want, I'll do it for you within reason. But when it kind of comes down to things like, if you don't educate people and you don't kind of say, do you really need this? Is this really going to benefit your business? Are you solving a problem for your prospective client by having this on there? Are you going to actually put content onto it? And they go, I don't know. Well, you just answered your question, because if you knew this is going to be beneficial to you and you knew you were going to do it, you'd be absolutely, I've already got 10 articles written up, ready to go. And it's like, you can inform people. And I think the problem is there's a lot of people out there that get informed, but they take it to heart. They take it as like, that's exactly what I need to have. And they don't look at beyond, what does it actually entail and involve if I have this? And it's like Instagram, for example, going back to your comment of Instagram. Instagram is great if you want to have that integrated your site, if you have something that's visual like you are, to do with food or to do with photography or videography or something. Absolutely the right thing to do. But like you say, you've got your local concrete pouring company. There's a foundation I poured. Why would people sign up? Why would people follow you on Instagram because you've shown photographs of some concrete bases you've poured?
Absolutely.
It's not going to happen, And I think there has to be a certain level of education that goes on as part of your job of being the web design professional. And I think a lot of people, especially early on in their journey, are probably not confident enough to think, especially if you were younger and you're dealing with potentially older clients, you kind of have this thing, it's like, how can I honestly tell someone that's potentially twice my age they're wrong? But the reality is, 9 times out of 10, they'll give you more respect for doing that, because it's like, that's what I'm paying you for, And I think a lot of people miss out on that.
Yeah, and I sometimes go a step further, where once I know what their business is and I start to make recommendations over what they should do on a website, I sometimes take them down a completely different journey as well. So one client who's got a directory for food and restaurant reviews in South Carolina in America, he has got a great personality. He's got a great voice, great persona, but he doesn't have a single photo of himself on his website. There's no sound bites, there's no videos, and I am now mentoring him. I've said, look, I will just mentor you for free on how to set up your YouTube channel. Get yourself out there, because I said you are missing a huge audience. You are so good and passionate about what you do. Social media, take photos when you're walking over to the restaurant, do videos of your reviews. You are going to build up an amazing audience. And thankfully, he's getting on board. And he was thanking me yesterday about it. He was like, always been afraid, never thought of doing it. And I said to him, right now, I know I can see Paul on here, but I'm just talking to my phone. Yes, you're watching, you're all here, but I'm just talking to a phone. I said, I could easily sit here and go, they were the worst fish and chips I've ever had in my life. You're just talking to your phone. Just let it out. Be yourself. Be natural. Be alive. Be something more than just words, and I love that.
Exactly. I think that's, like you said, you could see that there's a market that particular client is missing out on, and they would be really, really good at it. And I've got exactly the same thing. I've got one of my clients is a florist. And she's an award-winning florist. She does classes, and they're always sold out. I mean, she does one-to-ones, and they're expensive. But when she was younger, she used to do kids' TV. So she's already comfortable with being in front of a camera. And she knows that this is something she needs to do, because we've talked about the online training and taking what she does, where she can teach one person, where she could teach 100 people, charge the same amount of money. And it's like, that's a really nice income. And you kind of see there's the potential there for that. It's like you get passionate for them. And I think that's the thing, is like when you see someone that would be really good at a specific type of thing, whether that's like YouTube or whether that's like photography or something, and it's like different mediums, there's something satisfying about telling your clients, look, you would be bloody brilliant at this, and you were missing a trick if you're not doing it. And like you say, you were doing that with one of your clients now, and I'm trying my best to push this other one into doing the same thing. It's like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that for me comes from 20 years in the NHS, managing departments, and I was one of those people that always took on new people recruited, and I often got criticised for taking on people that had no experience. But I saw something in them. I saw a spark. I saw the potential for them to do great things. And I would love to mentor and teach them. And when I saw them get promoted, or go on to work for bigger departments and achieve things, I'm not expecting them to come back and thank me. But you watch them from afar, and there is this pleasure you get out of it, that knowing you helped them on that journey. Like a seed, and you've watched them grow and spread and become bigger and better. And there's just warm, wonderful feeling, and it's almost like when you have children. All right, you know, you want the best for your kids. You want them to grow up and become independent and achieve things, and it's that same kind of feeling deep down in your heart. So you know, and that's what I love to have with businesses as well. So clients, they become friends almost in a way, paying friends, but they become friends.
Paying friends. Yeah. But the thing is, that's what I kind of go back to, is it is developing the relationship. You know, it is about building that trust on both aspects, on both sides. It's not a one-way trust thing. You have to trust them and they have to trust you. And when they see that you've got their best interests, I think that's where the best things happen. You know, you can help them succeed. And like you say, there is a real sense of satisfaction in the same way, like you say, that you would with kids. It's like if you see your son or daughter and you set them on the road with all the things that they need, and then you see them go way beyond anything that you envisaged for them, you kind of have this huge sense of pride inside. And I think if you've got a good relationship with a client, it's a very similar kind of thing. You can give them the tools they need, and you can give them the advice and the support. But when you see them take it, run with it, and do more than you thought they would be comfortable doing, there's a real sense of pleasure and a sense of satisfaction and fulfillment in that side of things, you know, in regards, in whatever way that is.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to do a couple of questions. So I've got a couple on here at the moment. Now, if you've got any questions you want to put to myself or Imran, or just questions in general you want to sort of throw around, we've got about maybe 15 minutes. Do hashtag Q in the chat, and then I can take a look at what they are and we can sort of put those out there. But I've got a question here from Atif, which I'm pretty sure both of us know. And he's asking, if someone is thinking about starting a YouTube channel but it's quite saturated, what advice would you give them? Try a different medium? I'll give you that first of all, then I'll give you my take on it. So, Imran, what do you think?
So I would still go down the YouTube route, and I would say that just put your own spin on it. So even though it is saturated, you could almost argue that, well, with WordPress and Elementor and just, you know, like, you know, the area that me and Paul are in and Reno is in and so many other well-known people, you can almost argue that is saturated. I mean, every day there's a new Elementor or something video coming out. And I would say, why am I getting subscribers? Why are people watching? Well, it's my spin and my take and my way on it. And I approach certain topics and in a certain way, and I focus on that. I don't really do much with dynamic tags or ACFs or stuff like that. And I know Paul does a lot of stuff on that as well. So I would say that it's okay. You just got to find your place. You could look at other avenues like TikTok and stuff like that, but I find that it's an area I haven't really explored much yet. Maybe I will one day, but I don't think I'm well suited to the very quick, short, 1-minute video market at the moment, because, hey, I talk too much. You know, I go on and on and on. But I would say that if you are the same as everyone else, so you start to become robotic and you just follow the same style and approach, then you just will get saturated. You will just get lost in the noise. But if you bring your personality and your way of delivering, your way of doing it out there, why can't you stand out? So yeah, I don't know if Paul's got any other view on that.
I think in a similar kind of vein, I think you kind of bring your own spin to things. You bring your own personality to things. You can't worry too much about it. And I think it all depends on what purpose you are looking to create content about. So, for example, if you're looking this to become a sort of lead magnet, then you would approach the content creation in a very different way, I think, to how you would create something else. So you kind of have to look at, well, what's the end goal? What am I doing this for? Am I looking at this to make money, as in I want to make revenue and I want to work with brands and companies? Or am I looking at this as a content marketing exercise to show myself as someone that's an expert, as it were, in a specific kind of field? And if that's the case, then you gear your content towards that, and you would create something very specific in how you would sort of create the content, because it would be educational, but kind of driving people to come towards you to get it done. I know, and I'm sure, again, Imran's probably had the same thing. I get a lot of emails, messages, and so on asking me if I'm available for work. Can I do a consultancy kind of thing? Can I build people's websites for them in various different ways? I mean, if I was using my channel to do that, I could probably make quite a healthy living from it. Personally, I'm not taking clients on. It's not the direction I want to go in now. But if I was, then it definitely helps drive interest over to you and set yourself up as a, quote, expert in your field. And I don't know, Imran, have you had the same thing? You've had people sort of contacting you because of your video content?
Yeah, we do. And then they run a mile when I tell them the cost of things because I say, sorry, I'm not in the Fiverr market, so it's not going to be that low. But yeah, we do. And because when a client is looking for help, they could either just go through the internet and contact companies and email them. But because they see our content, they almost know what they're getting. And if they feel like they're attracted to your personality or the way you deliver or explain things, there's an element of trust already built. And rather than you trying to convince them to use you, it's actually the other way around. But yeah, we do get quite a lot of requests, and I either turn them away because for time reasons, or some of them do run a mile because they thought, yeah, I'll build your website for $50. I'm not sure why they think that, but yeah.
No, but it goes to prove, though. I mean, I think this is the same with any kind of way in which you sort of attract, whether that's a case of you have an online quote form or whatever. You can pre-qualify clients in a certain way, and I think you could probably do the same thing when it comes to online. How you set your method of contact up after you've created content can really sort of like push away the ones that are not going to fit into your pricing structure. We talked about lots of different times where you can literally have an online contact form that you can put sort of conditional logic in there. What are you looking for? This is the price range you're falling into. What are you kind of like, you can kind of set it up in various different ways, and that can kind of pre-qualify. But I think to go back and answer the question, YouTube is still probably the best platform if you want to create educational content, whether that's to educate people in the same way that myself and Imran do, or whether you want to use it as a sort of lead generation tool. It just kind of comes down to how you actually form the information. I think TikTok and stuff like that, they're great for a certain type of thing, but I don't think they're right for educational content unless it's really quick, bite-sized pieces of information. Where's so-and-so feature in Elementor, which is kind of hidden away? Well, that would work well because you could answer that question in 30 seconds. But anything more than that, it's not really the kind of way you want to go with it. So hopefully, Auntie, if that's kind of answered that question and kind of give you an insight into which way you go. But personally, I think both of us are saying YouTube is still the best platform for creating video-based content for whichever kind of purpose you want it for. Okay, let's have a little look. So, Jack, other than web hosting, Elementor, etc., do you think it would be beneficial to charge clients on a monthly basis, almost like Shopify? It really kind of, and I'll answer this one first, then I'll give Imran a time to sort of like formulate his kind of feedback on this. I think there's pros and cons. I know with my previous business partner, he was very much on the line of monthly charges would be a good thing because once you get this number of clients on there, then there's money coming in every month. And on that respect, yes, there's a benefit. However, the downside of it is there's the hassle of billing all the time, chasing up if they don't pay. There's a lot of negative things, I think, in the if you are a small agency or a freelancer or a solopreneur or whatever you brand yourself up as opposed to a company that is automated like Wix or Shopify or something like that. And you've also got to consider the churn rate that you'd have. If you're talking about building a website for someone and then charging them monthly for that, are you going to charge them a setup fee that's going to cover your time to set it up? And in that case, how are you going to work that figure out? Because if you've got a big project, I know Imran works on a lot of sort of listing type sites, that's not a quick setup. Even when you kind of know the system, it still takes time. Even going down the route of creating a typical 10-page website, if you were charging currently $2,000 to $3,000 for that, and then you go, let's move on to monthly, and you say, well, we can only charge them £500, well, you're already a quarter of your pricing, that's all you're kind of taking for it, then you're hoping to make up that extra income monthly. If that business falls, they don't see the results they want, well, suddenly your churn rate starts to go up and up and up and up. And then you've got to keep finding new clients to come on board. And there's just a lot of reasons why a monthly fee can be difficult to start and maintain, even though to start off with, it may seem quite attractive. But that's kind of my take. I mean, Imran, what do you think? Have you ever kind of thought of this yourself?
Yeah, so very, very early on, I considered it, and mainly because up and down Facebook, there were adverts galore. Hey, get your website done for £69 a month or whatever like that. And you start to worry that that's the way people are thinking. But very, very early on, we started to realize that, well, let's say you build, I'll give you some vague figures. Let's say you build 3 websites and they each are £1,000. That's £3,000. And if you get that done in 1 month, that's £3,000 you've made. You might have 50% up front and 50% at the end. But either way, in 1 month, that's £3,000. Or you get them to pay £50 or £100 a month. Well, now you've stretched it out over what? I can't even do the maths now, but like 2.5 years. And like Paul said, exactly that crossed my mind. What if the business folds? Or there's a hassle, or what if the client dies, right? Come on, you've got to be realistic here. What if something happens? If the business folds, am I going to be the guy who goes, right, I don't care if you folded. I don't care if you're struggling to put food on the table. You owe me money. So there's something about if you've got a lot of capital investment and whatever to manage all your overheads, and money is just a gravy train that you're not overly worried about, you could consider it. But I'm looking at, if we build a website, because look, the way I look at it like this, if I build a website for a business and they are now generating money themselves because they're selling products or whatever, or they're getting services or people are noticing them, why should I not now be paid for the time we invested in it? So I'm not completely against the monthly model, but I would just say it's so unpredictable, and I would rather know that if I have done something for you, I want it now. Look, if you go and get your hair cut, the barber is not going to go, hey, yeah, just pay me a bit today and then pay me for the next 12 months for that one haircut. No, so unless you're a big business that can cover the overheads, I think it's risky overall. Oh, Paul, sound.
I'd muted myself. I do apologize.
No,
yeah, I
okay,
think that's one of the key things there. I think it becomes, if you're a bigger company where the churn rate isn't that important, it's okay. But the problem is you have to get a lot of people through the virtual doors, and you have to do an awful lot of groundwork before you start to make good money. If you were charging, let's just say you charge £50, $50 per month for that website, and you charge them $500 up front. Well, you've got to have an awful lot of clients in there coming in every single month to keep the work going. And then you have a cap of how much work you can realistically do, which means then you have to take on other people, which means that your overheads go up, and then you need more people to come on board to do the work.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly say one more thing. Also, like I said, if you have a website and it's built in, say, a week, that job is done. If they decide to do a monthly maintenance plan, that's something different. But if you build a website and they pay monthly to clear that 1,000, you're almost giving them a license to make revisions until it's fully paid. Because if you don't do those revisions, they might say, go, right, we're not going to work with you, and it all goes, gets messed up. So there's always that danger that because they will ask for further changes because they've not fully paid you, and you'll feel obligated to do those changes because you want to get paid.
Yeah, it kind of unbalances the relationship and the power of the client, which ideally you need a balance that you're both benefiting from the relationship. If one's benefiting more over the other, it kind of off balances, and then problems set in. So I think from a technical point of view, I think there's more cons, I think, than pros going down that route. But to kind of follow this on to another question, which is kind of in the same kind of vein, is that based around paying monthly for websites? Yes, it is. But what about monthly maintenance plans? Well, monthly maintenance plans, I think, are very, very different, because your monthly maintenance plan is more to do with, as Imran was just saying, more to do with ongoing content updates, content creation, adding new content, adding new pages, updating the designs, a million and one different things, whatever you put in your maintenance plan contract agreements. So They are very different, and I think that's the better way to go about it. If you want to create that residual income, recurring every single month, and you can kind of budget based upon that, then you're better off charging the flat fee for the website, and then you charge a monthly maintenance plan for whatever you kind of deem. When I was doing maintenance plans, I had two different kinds of maintenance plans. I had content plans, which were basically, they would send me the content and I would update the website, create the new pages, whatever it was. And I would have design update plans, which means I would create new pages, update the design, those kinds of things. So they were different because the work that's involved in those is very different. If someone's just sending you a Word file or an email with some text and some images and bits and pieces, that's no disrespect. That's kind of like brainless work. You could outsource that to some freelancer that sort of like you're paying them $5 an hour kind of thing and get them to put that content on. Whereas it comes to creative work, that requires someone that is creative, and therefore that would ideally be charged at a higher rate. So that's the kind of key reason why I separated those out. Now, different people are going to approach this in different ways. So, Imran, I don't know if you do sort of care plans, stroke maintenance plans, whatever, and if you break them down, if there's different kinds, how do you do it?
Yeah, so we have like a maintenance care package, but we do make it really clear that this is what you get. And we do say there can be revised content, but we make kind of clear what that means. So is it just going to be changing images, headers, a bit of wording here and there? If they want a brand new page or something else restyled, there's a separate cost for that. But then we also then say you have like options. So option 1 is X. Option 2 might include SEO keywords. Option 3 might be reviewing page speed, performance, and all of that. So we kind of break it down to them. And we do say to them, look, you can either pay for the year up front, and then you get a 20% discount, or you can pay monthly, and here's the cost for it. And we say to our clients, you don't have to use us, by the way. Okay, it's only up to you if you want to use us, but if you don't have a monthly maintenance program or whatever, and then you contact us in 3 months' time because you want to make a little change, there will be a separate cost for that, and you might realize that you are better off going on a maintenance plan like that. So, and I know someone here mentioned that, like in the current climate with cost pressures and all of that, sometimes the monthly plan can work for you. But what I would say is, if you look at life as it is, if you go into Tesco right now or any supermarket and you do your shopping, right, unless you're using a credit card, the supermarket wants paying for the goods almost in a way. So there's nothing to stop a client. So one of my clients did have an issue over the cost of a website, and they were like, that's a lot of money. And I said to them, if that is an issue for you, why don't you pay for it using your credit card or whatever, or even PayPal credit, and then you pay PayPal in installments or your credit card installments. But either way, there was just a danger that, if we just took a monthly payment, I just felt like we might not get back our full payment. And we've put in the time and effort, and they're going to benefit from it. So if you do have a client who gets a bit funny over, well, I don't want to pay £500 or £1,000 or whatever for a website, I say to them, right, if you want to pay via PayPal credit, go for it. You can do that. We will still get what we want, and you are now just paying PayPal over 4, 5, 6 months. That's between you and them. And we've had clients do that. So there are ways you can offer them a monthly package, but you still get your bit, and there's less worry for you.
Yeah, really good point. Now, Reno's asking a question, because I know Reno's got his own business and everything, so I'm sure this is kind of experience that he's had. So what do you think about a smaller monthly amount for maintenance and a fixed amount? I mean, how do you kind of see that question in your business?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll be really honest with you. I'll be brutally honest now. When I price up a job and I say to the client, they've got to pay 50%, in actual honesty, that 50% is what I would want for the entire job. Let me be brutally honest to you now. So if after that 50%, the client goes, right, whatever, disappears, I don't really care. That 50% covered off what I really wanted for that job. The other 50% is the gravy train, in my opinion. That's the extra. That's the pleasure money that I might go and spend on buying a more Pepsi Max for myself or whatever. So if you wanted to, that 50% you could take as a fixed amount up front at the start. And then you could say, right, the other 50% you might pay over 6 months. So there's a bit of money coming in. But what I would say is, by having a decent fixed amount in, that covers your basis. So if I know the website's going to take 6 days or whatever to build, that 50% covers that. The other 50%, because there's always a chance your client and you might fall out.
Oh, yeah.
And because you were working on a project, you didn't plan to do another project next week. You'd reserved the time. So if it continues to the end and you get paid for it, great. If it doesn't, I don't care. We got the 50% we wanted and we can move on with that. So it's a very good question Reno's made there, but you could make it work for you. But always go for 50%.
So here's a question, follow on the 50%. Do you look at the size of the project and consider, okay, this is a bigger project. This is, if your typical project is like 7 days, because I used to break things down. It's like a CMS, typical CMS using WordPress was, I would average 2 weeks to 4 weeks, knowing that it wouldn't take anywhere near that, providing all the content had been supplied, and e-commerce longer. But let's just say you identify something that's slightly more bespoke. You know it's going to take you longer. Do you still do 50 up front and 50 at the end, or do you break 50 and then do 25 in the middle once the design has been approved and so on, before you start coding or actually building the site, and then 25% on launch, prior to launch?
Yeah, so there's a minority of projects where we have actually split it. So we've gone, so there was one where we actually, there's a few where we've done 40, 40 and 20. So rather than doing 50, 25, 25, it basically meant that it meant that at a certain point in the project, we had 80% paid just because there was a bit of risk attached to if this project was going to complete or not. But 9 times out of 10, most of ours are 50% and 50% because you kind of know how you're going to approach it and what you're going to get done. Where it is a more complicated project and there's going to be like key stages where the stakeholders have to sign off or approve to things, then we might go with like a 40, 40, 20 route. But they are minority, I have to be honest. And when it comes to costing jobs, I don't, so like a basic website, I won't have a static cost for a basic website. Basic website could take 5 days or 2 weeks. So I will base it on the amount of time involved into it, because there's nothing worse than you charging the same price, and because of the client or whatever, it takes 2 months to complete. They stress me out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you have to look at every project on its merit anyway, and you also get a feel. I mean, when you sort of talk to, I call it prospective clients, but when you kind of talk to them, you kind of get a feel for what they're going to be like, and you kind of like, I have a thing called red flag clients, and there's like various different types of red flag clients, and you get a feel. You get hagglers, you get stragglers. I got names for all of them, but you kind of get like, if you get someone that you say, okay, if you pay the deposit by so and so date, then I'll block it in. I got different ways of working, kind of thing. Then if they don't pay in a timely manner, or they don't, whatever it is, there's a red flag there straight away. And I think when you see that, you can kind of weigh that risk up with the complexity of the project, the timescale and the scale of the project itself. And then, like you say, you could say, well, okay, it's 40% up front, 40% upon design approval. And once the design's approved, we then build it, then 20% on the final approval once you sign the design and sign the project off. And then once that 20% is paid, then I release the site. Prior to that, you don't get it. Its site stays on our servers and is hidden away, kind of thing. So I think you have to take each project on its own merit, and that kind of thing that goes with the risk that's involved as well as the price. I know for me, I've got starting prices for different types of projects. Yeah. So people can get a feel for, okay, where am I talking about? Is it like a static site is like 800 quid, and then you go to a CMS which starts off with like 8 pages, that's $2,000. It's like, okay, at least people know. It's like you start at that. It's like, well, what's the differentiator? Well, if all I had to do was take WordPress, put a theme on it, design something really basic, and then slap 8 pages on there, that would cost you $2,000. But if you want custom post types in there, you want the design to be customized, well, that's where the price starts to go up, and you need extra tools and the price goes up. But at least people have a starting point baseline. They can go, okay, that's kind of the figure that I'm starting with. So you can kind of weed out those time wasters thinking this is a Fiverr based 50 quid kind of website with 2,000 pages and unlimited revisions. No, this is a different thing altogether. No. But if that's what you want, go to Fiverr,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And sorry, I'm taking over now, but someone just asked a question about how long does it take to build an average 10-page Elementor website? Well, it depends on the content. So I home pages, I always get the homepage done first and make sure the client's happy with that. And you could spend a day or two on that because a bit of back and forth with the client maybe. But once you get your homepage done, every other page is a little bit like gravy because you're modifying. You now know what the flow and the way it's going to look, and you kind of tweak it. But depending on the content, a 10-page website, I don't know, you're looking at maybe 4 days, 3 to 4 days sometimes, but it does depend on the content because it could be 20 days, and also a lot of it depends on your client. So how responsive is your client on feedback? Did they like it? Is there anything they want to tweak? Have they gone on holiday for 5 weeks? Well, then it's going to take longer now. But so a lot of it depends on your content, but if it's a nice, easy website, we're sometimes looking at 3 to 4 days for the build aspect of it.
I think that's the thing. It's like if you condensed it down into one continuous cycle, then 3 to 4 days is probably typical for something like that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of kind of things that go in right at the beginning, which is, if you've got collateral from the client, so they've got brand guides, style guides, color guides, and things like that, which that's great when you've got medium to larger companies, but smaller companies where most people will start off from, they probably don't even know what collateral is, So then you kind of have to go, okay, now I need to incorporate the sort of like portion of going through and find out what colors are going to work, what, that sort of research phase, which takes time. It's not about the physical act of creating the layout in Elementor. It's all the things that go before you even say put pen to paper virtually kind of thing. But there's a lot of things you kind of take into consideration before you even start building. And then you've got to create your style guides, your branding, your collateral, all those kinds of things. Once all that's done, then it's moving on to the design. And whether you kind of use tools like Figma to start off with to mock things up and get prototypes, or you go straight into a tool like Elementor and you just build directly in that. There's a lot of moving parts, I think, with things like that. And I'm taking you're not a big Figma fan then.
Yeah, no, I mean, I am. I'm so old school, and I'm trying to find one I did for someone about a week ago. I'm just kind of like scribble bits of paper to work out what the website's going to look, and then we just go from there. Mainly because with a scribble, I can very quickly just I can't even find it now, but I can just basically send them a JPEG. And then we can tweak it as we. I can't find it. Yeah, like it's just so that was a rough one. We sent to someone, with just some scribbles, and then we just tweak it from there. And then I get one of my son's crayons, and I just go, oh yeah, we'll do a bit of this and a bit of that and a bit of that, and then we just go from there.
Look, I think everyone has this sort of like. I think a big part of it also comes into what you're charging, because I think if you were charging, let's just say you're charging £1,000 for a typical. Let's go back to the 10-page website. If that's your benchmark, £1,000, well, prototyping is probably not going to be in your budget because, well,
exactly.
Exactly. But if you were doing the same site and it was 10 grand or 20 grand,
exactly.
Then you do a different thing altogether, which kind of brings me on to Andrew's question. How do you approach mockups for clients? How many do you compose and submit? I'm going to quickly answer that one first, then I'm going to pass it over to you, Imran. These days, let me go back a little bit. Originally, I would mock up everything inside Photoshop, and I would generally submit 2 different designs because the more you submit, the more people will go, oh, I like that in that one, and I like that one in that one, and that was quite nice. Could we put all those together? And it's like, that's going to look like shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like 2, I think 2 is the optimal for most clients. Because it gives them an A/B test. They go, I like that one, I like that one. And if I'm brutally honest, I'll usually have a favorite that I like. And the 2 that I'll send over will be the one I really like and one that I've made not look as good as it could have done. Because you're kind of pushing them towards the design you know is the better design. And I'm taking it. But after that, to be honest, I'm kind of going down the route of I very much used to find that using a page builder like Elementor or something, I could actually build a mock-up of the homepage with just filler content and filler graphics quicker than I could have spent doing this with Photoshop. And then I'd have to go and build it inside Photoshop. However, since I've started using Figma, I find that I'm actually faster in Figma to come up with ideas. Okay. It allows my idea process to flow quicker. But then I'm not working with clients doing it. So I've got the luxury, I suppose, of not being on the clock when I'm doing that. So I can kind of understand. And again, it kind of goes back to my first point where if you were being charging 10 grand, it's worth time and effort putting in to doing things like that, mock-ups and so on. However, if you're charging $1,000, then I would go down the simpler, quicker route, whether that's mock-up in Photoshop or going directly into a tool like Elementor, and maybe even using something like the wireframes that you can pick up in various different, plugins and things like that give you a great starting point. You submit a wireframe and say, that's the rough layout. You decide, do you like the flow of that? Next stage is we'll put some content in, some images and things, so you get a more fleshed out feel. But the time taken for you is minimal. And I think if you've got the collateral that has all the branding and so on, you can set up your styles inside Elementor or equivalent tool, and making changes is globally just insanely quick to do. So that's how I would kind of approach it. But Imran, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, mine is similar in a completely different way. So what I tend to do is I say to the clients is like, tell me 2 competitor websites or 2 websites you like the look of that fit with your brand or your business model or what you're doing.
Yeah.
And what I then do is I look at them, I study them, and if the client gives me any interest in what they liked about them or not, I take them and then I formulate my mock-up or my plan from them. So I take what bits I like about them, and I'll either make my own, which is a mixture, or I will completely do something different. Because sometimes clients, they give you something and you go, this is drop dead ugly. What do you like about this? But if I can relate it back to the 2 or 3 websites they mentioned to me from competitors, I can go back to them and go, right, I've looked at these designs and I really think you should be going for this, 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 and this. And 9 times out of 10, they actually go along with it. Especially when you build yourself up as an expert and they trust your viewpoint on it. And then you have the odd one that goes, oh, but I really like that. And then I have to talk to them and go, why do you like that? And they go, oh, because of the way it looks. And I go, right, have you got an image as good as what they've got? They've got a branded, powerful image. Have you got anything like that? No. I go, are you going to hire a photographer to get you something like that? They're stood in front of like scenery or whatever. They go, no. I go, right. So let's strip the image out and let's look at it again. It is just an image with a headline. So how about we do something a little bit different like that? And so it's a bit like, when you do house hunting and you walk into a house and you go, oh, I really hate the look of it. And I'm like, forget the look of it. Yep. Can you see the space? Can you see yourself living here, where your furniture goes, kind of thing? So look at what you have available and don't go, oh, I really hate the wallpaper. Yeah, well, you're not living with that wallpaper. No. You're going to strip it off and start again.
The funny thing is you actually take a similar approach to me when it comes to getting the inspiration side of things to start off with, or find out where the client is in their head. They've, some clients will have a very specific idea exactly what they want, and you have some clients that have no idea what they want. But part of my original sort of process before I even kind of start working on a project would be go and find me 6 websites that you like and dislike. Primarily the ones you dislike, and then tell me what it is you do and don't like about them.
Excellent.
Because
that's really
you can find so much information about what they're looking to achieve from it. Whether it's right or wrong, then your job is to educate them, whether that it's the right thing or the wrong thing. But at least you know where they're at. Because when you've got a client that goes, you're the expert, whatever you do is going to be amazing, that's a red flag client and you run like hell. Because they are the clients that have no bloody idea what the hell they want. They're expecting you to find it when they don't know what it is they want. And you will never meet their expectations. So...
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that at that point when you're doing the mock-up is I sometimes say to them, right, do you know what your keyword is? And do you know what your main headline, impact headline is? And the amount of clients that say to me, yeah, we're just going to put our business name... And I feel like sending a virtual slap through the airwaves to them going, no, and I often kind of, I'll be honest with you, right, is we had a solicitor who wanted to work with us about 8 months ago, and they were going to pay a fair amount of money for a website. And after the second meeting with them, I went, I'm really sorry, but I'm not going to work with you. And they were ready to pay their deposit. I went, I'm really sorry, but you have not got a clue. You're not thinking about your headlines. You're not thinking about your content. You almost are saying, do your magic, we create everything for them. And there comes a point where you want to be creative, but if they're not thinking about what they want or how it's going to look, you are in for a world of pain when you build that website, because you'll build it to the spec and then they'll change their mind. Then they'll change their mind. Then they'll change their mind. And that budget you set suddenly goes out the window. So
this is why
I am not afraid to say no.
No, I totally agree with you. Two things I want to answer. First of all, I've been asked, what am I drinking? It's called Ozushko, which is a
yes.
Croatian lager, which I absolutely love. But the other one, I completely forgot what the other one was. Oh yeah, working with clients and things like that. You do have to have the ability to say no, that I'm not working with you. It's the wrong kind of project. And I think that really kind of comes with confidence, because you have to be far enough along in your journey to feel, I don't need this in my life, and I can see this is going to be an absolute nightmare. And it's like, we're not the right kind of people to work together. So I think find someone else. Here's some recommendations for other companies in the area. By all means, please contact those. And I think that's better. I think if you do that, I've worked with clients that have become a pain, and I've worked with clients that I shouldn't have worked with. And the amount of stress and hassle that kind of comes with that side of things, it really is not worth the money. And I think when you're early on in your design business, money is the driving factor for everything you do.
Exactly.
But take my word for it, and I'm sure Imran will sort of back this up. No amount of money in the world is worth the stress and the heartache that some clients can bring to you when you wake up stressing, when the phone goes and you see their number and you just go, no client is worth that rubbish at all. Deckard and Company, the lager's kicking in. I think maybe a can and a half.
What I'll say is when you first start off, every client you get, you feel like you want to take him on because money is the driver. However, the moment you have a bad client, you suddenly realise that actually, was it worth the sleepless nights, the stress, the struggling to get things completed? And whenever we take on a client, or we know what the spec or the brief is, I need to know that I can 100% deliver that without any shadow of doubt. I have an idea of the plugins. I have an idea of the approach. I know what we're going to deliver. And if a client comes to me and I'm like, I'm not sure about how to do that, I'm not sure, I don't take them on, because I want to be able to finish my day, go to sleep, wake up, and not be sat there going, they've paid a deposit, I said I would do it, but I don't know what to do. And do you know how many people every day are directly messaging me on Facebook because they're from the Fiverr or the Upwork market, and they go, we agree to do something, but we don't know what to do. They've paid us, but we don't know what to do. And I have to say to them, I'm really sorry, but why did you take on the job if you can't deliver? This, you don't do that. Only take on what you can do. And believe me, when you've had a stressful client and you've been up all night, it ain't fun. That's when you lose the passion for why you're doing this. And if you're freelancing or an agency or you're your own boss, it's the reason you're your own boss, right? It's the reason I left my job in January.
Yep.
I am the master of my own destiny now. So I want to enjoy it. I want to take a holiday when I want to take a holiday, which is never. I want to wake up at 9 o'clock, which is cool. So I want to do what I want to do.
Yeah. The problem is, though, I think when you decide to become your own boss, what you don't realize is you just work twice as many hours as when you work for someone else for half the money.
I will say I am probably doing double the amount of hours, but there's a little bit of pleasure. Like right now, it's Sunday night. My son's come down. He's like just wandering around, but don't care. It's like we're doing this live chat. It's enjoyable. There's a pleasure here. When you're building websites, when you're working on something and you see it happening on the website, the animations, the flow, the page speed, you can see it all working amazingly. There is this huge sense of satisfaction, and I'm glad I took the risk. I'm glad that we went all in now and gone, right, we're just gonna focus on the web design side of things.
Yeah, it is a risk, but sometimes those risks have massive rewards, and it's not always financial. I think people look at rewards as being like money in the pocket, and the reality is there's a lot more to life than money in the pocket all the time.
No.
So I'm going to take one more question, though, because I'm keen that I wanted to keep this to an hour and we're already 30 minutes over that. So I don't want to keep Imran all night on a Sunday night. So let's just do one more question. So I'm going to take Michael's question. So this is to you, Imran. Do you solely use Elementor, or do you use other builders as well, like GeneratePress and Cadence and those kinds of things?
Yeah, so I have to be brutally honest and say I tend to use just Elementor, mainly because I have tried out other platform, other page builders as well. But I would rather become a super master expert on Elementor so that I know when I decide to build a website for anyone, I know the pros and cons. I know what I can and cannot do. Because there's always an Elementor update. There's always something happening, a feature. And like I always use Hello. 99% of every website I built is Hello and Elementor Pro. I don't use any add-ons. I don't at all. Nearly every website I do, I like to keep it all within one area so I know what plugins we're using as well. So there is nothing wrong. I want to make clear, there is nothing wrong with using a theme or a plugin or any add-ons if you know it's going to help you reach the end game. If it's going to help you reach your goal and you are aware of compatibility and any conflicts and all of that, and you can manage that, you do it. You're good to go. I just prefer to use just Elementor Pro, not because I'm biased, but just because I know what I can and cannot do with it. So you have your tools, and I suppose it's no different to if you're a builder. You will have your favorite hammer, your favorite drill, your favorite tools, right? And even, you prefer to use what you can use to build, and that's just the way I am. But I have tried others, but I have just found that it got complicated if I was trying to work with Visual Composer and Bakery and Beaver and all these other things. It starts to kind of go, and that's when we drew the line. About 3 years ago, I went, no, we're just going to stick with Elementor.
I don't blame
Visual Composer is a bad word.
It's a swear word. Followed by WP Bakery. So I got a quick question just going to pop up from Jason. Let me just add that to the broadcast. You both should consider a monthly joint live session. This has been really enjoyable. I totally agree. And I'm more than happy to do that. If Imran's up for doing that.
Me too. Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally happy with that. Yeah. Yeah. I will leave it to Paul to decide.
Oh, no, I'm absolutely up for it. There's, to be honest, there's a couple of things that are in the pipeline that I don't want to say too much about, but absolutely, definitely up for doing this on a regular basis. I think it'd be great because it gives us the opportunity to talk about a lot of different topics, not just specifically about like Elementor or anything like that, but also about the business side of things because Imran's doing this. I don't so much these days, but I've been doing it for long enough that I think I've probably got something I can contribute to the conversation. So yeah, absolutely. Maybe we'll sort of schedule this for, I quite like the Sunday night live because there's not a lot to do on a Sunday evening most of the time.
Hey, as long as I've got a cold bottle of Pepsi Max, I'm rolling. I'm fine. I'm happy.
So to answer your question, Jason, it's probably on the cards for definite. So yeah, that'll be quite cool. And there's one other that I wanted to sort of pop up just to answer the question. Let me have a look. Are you in a job or a freelancer? To be honest, I'm kind of, if I was going to say anything, I'm a freelancer because I haven't been in a job for probably 20 years. I had my own business as a partner in a design company for 11 years, and I've been doing freelancing with existing clients. I don't take on new clients now for probably the last 6 years, I think, something like that. But to be honest, my main job these days is YouTube and working with companies sort of inside the YouTube sphere, as it were. Oh, wrong button. The beer's kicking in again. So no, I don't really freelance, but if I was going to label myself as either of those, yes, I would say I'm a freelancer if I work with clients, but I don't take on new clients, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But anyway, I just wanted to sort of just answer those two, and I'm going to say we're going to call it a night here. I want to say, first of all, thank you very much, Imran, for like last minute joining me on this live stream. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on board, and if anybody would like to find out a little bit more about yourself, what you do, or even contact you with regards to working with you, with your company, how can they find out about you? I'm going to hand the floor over to you so you can kind of do your sales pitch.
Yeah. Well, just do a search for Web Squadron on YouTube. You'll find us, and in our description and our videos, there are our email address and our website is there if you want to hire us or work with us, or if you have any ideas as well for like videos you'd like us to do as well. Please do speak to us. The worst thing you'll get is me going no, but please do contact us. But our details are in there. And we do daily live chats as well, usually midday BST time. Pop along here. But I am very much looking forward to joining up with Paul again. It's been a lot of fun. And I'll tell you what, when you do a lot of live chats and you kind of do them on your own, you're responding to comments, but being able to just talk, it's almost like Paul is here. Well, he's not here. He's here, but it's almost like Paul is here nearby. So it's wonderful to do that. But yeah, go and do a search for Web Squadron and you'll find us.
Awesome
and
stuff.
Make sure you're liking this video, but make sure you're liking this live chat we're doing right now with Paul. Make sure you're liking.
Yeah, come on. If you found value in the live stream we've done tonight, hit that thumbs up, because as we know, that tells YouTube that you actually like the content, and hopefully it'll push it out to more people in the future. But absolutely, I'm more than up for doing more live streams together like this, joint live streams, and also getting a few more people on board at the same time so we can have a 3, 4-way, 5-way conversation, which I think could be absolutely invaluable, answering the questions you kind of thrown at us tonight. That's been absolutely fantastic. So let me just quickly wrap up by saying thank you very much, Imran, for joining in tonight. Thank you for everybody that's joined in as well. It's been an absolute blast answering your questions, getting involved. So thank you very much. Take care of yourselves. Look after yourself wherever you are in the world, and we'll both see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Take care. Bye.